Yeah, if you gotta wash your hands, you gotta use water upstairs. You can't. Are you pissing or shitting?
I'm pissing.
Then you should be fine. There's alcohol right here.
Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Film Asylum, where if you are crazy about movies, you belong here. We are your hosts, Colin Peters,
John Rochetter.
You know what? Fuck you. It's been fucking forever. I haven't got to say this in like months. In literal fucking months.
You
Fuck
were just
you.
having that bottled up right now.
I know.
You were expecting something witty and smart, weren't you? Or maybe an impersonation?
No, I was expecting it the dumbest line ever, because it seems to be what it is. And obviously I'm Jeff Manfred.
Obviously.
We're just going to make a shirt of Jeff, and it's just going to be like, fuck you, fuck this movie. Then put hashtag showgirl.
Oh my god. It's just like the word fuck 127 times on his shirt, and then the hashtag showgirls.
And then there'll be like this silhouette of hands in the background.
Yes, and that's the fuck count that you do in that episode. No, it's not.
It's a lie. I think the worst was in Pet Sematary.
Oh, yeah.
What do we count, like 46?
48?
48?
It's on there. It's on the screen. I like to fuck this movie. Fuck everybody. Straight up. Who the fuck was like, oh, yeah, this is a good idea.
Good times.
Like just back to back. I remember thinking, oh, there's another one. There's another one. So much so I had to put a disclaimer in front of it.
Warning, this episode contains foul language and the excessive use of the word fuck. Parental discretion is advised.
No, I said he's just really passionate about how much he hates this movie. So today we don't really have a topic to talk about other than we just wanted to have some fun because we didn't really have a chance to watch any movies or, dive deep into some research. But since it's the Halloween season, we don't really know exactly when this episode is going to be coming out because October's winding down. But we all love horror, and we thought of an interesting topic to talk about, and that was the top 5 horror performances. I believe, Jeff, this was your idea?
Yeah.
What brought this idea on?
Honestly, I've been checking out the history of horror, and there was an episode with Quentin Tarantino and Eli Roth talking about, well, obviously horror movies. And they got to the point where they were starting to discuss their, I'd say top 5, but they ended up doing like 10 fucking different people. But at what point, I'm sitting there like they did pretty much it was almost like cookie cutter performances. I'm sitting there like that's not like a performance that would like stick out. Like obviously, like, I think Linda Blair and Blair Witch was like one of them. They both agreed on that.
Exorcist.
So that's my bad.
Because I thought you hated Blair Witch.
I don't know why I was thinking Blair Witch, but I think,
Linda Blair.
Blair Witch.
But they both agreed on that. They both agreed on Boris Karloff and Frankenstein, and they both agreed on Sissy Spacek and Carrie, which kind of caught me off guard because I'm like, I never even considered that even like an amazing performance until I thought about it. I'm like, how much she had to show with her just face alone. I'm like,
it's great. It's really good.
So it's like with those two right there in mind, I'm like, I was starting to think about it. I'm like, there's a lot out there that like even currently that no one is talking about like their performance. Like, because horror's still kind of like, well, here you go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga in The Conjuring. They don't really get any credit for as good as they are in those movies.
No.
Toni Collette was a big one that when she came out with...
Hereditary?
Yes, that was it.
Great movie. Oh, yes.
They said that she was so good that she should have gotten an Oscar nomination. I didn't watch Hereditary, so I can't really say. But, I mean, Toni Collette's just talented overall anyway, so it doesn't surprise me one bit. But I think they said that she got knocked down because it was a horror movie.
I mean, there's no denying because she's been a part of the horror genre more than I thought because I had no idea that was her as the mom in The Sixth Sense with M. Night Shyamalan. I never made that correlation until like a couple of years ago. Like, that was Toni Collette. I had no idea. And then she was in the Fright Night remake, and here she is in Hereditary a couple of years ago.
Fright Night was a remake that I think we were talking about reboots or remakes that I I couldn't name at the top of my head, but I was like, that one was really good.
Yes.
Especially because the original Fright Night was very good too.
Mm-hmm. I just didn't like the 3D gimmick because it was like a 3D craze that was going on like 2010, 2011. They tried to do that. That didn't work out so well. But other than that, it was well written, it was well acted, and it actually did things different than the original, which is what you want in a remake.
It had good pacing too. Like they're similar yet different.
Plus, it gave it more of a modern twist where the original had like that 80s feel. This one did have the early 2000s, let's say mid 2000s at this point.
Yeah, because Roddy McDowell was the vampire hunter. Oh fuck, what's his name?
Peter Vincent.
Yeah, thank you. I knew Vincent was involved because of Vincent Price.
Yes.
But yeah, he was more like a TV host. Roddy McDowell was, and then David Tennant, who was Peter Vincent, was more like a Chris Angel or David Blaine.
Exactly.
And I was like, that worked. Yeah. That really worked.
And it was out in Vegas too,
yes.
So that kind of made sense.
So, I mean, I thought that was a good staple for remakes. I just want to throw that out there. It's a good horror movie. I think it's a good horror combo, actually, with the both of them, because I never saw the second Fright Night, but I heard it's fucking terrible.
You don't need to see the second Fright Night.
If you're just there to watch titties and killing, absolutely.
If you want to see
it's like the Halloween Kills before Halloween Kills.
Garbage retread of the first one, knock yourself out.
It's pretty much about kids going to Europe, and it's a female lead instead of the male. So it really wasn't. Same thing with even the original. It was a female vampire, but they at least brought back the same kids. This time they're like, fuck off, we're just gonna bring somebody else.
Yeah. Ryden Mcdowell, you want to come back for this one? Sure, why not?
Come on, that man has been in like everything. He was in what, all of 8 Planet of the Apes?
Did a voice in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah. Talented actor. That's a retread. It's a common trend to see yourself in multiple movies. I mean, look at Donald Pleasance in Halloween, and look at Robert Englund in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, but they own those roles.
Oh, they do. They do.
I mean, talking about performances, hell, I know people talk about Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween and how she was like, like the main star. But when you watch the first Halloween, I know I might get crucified for saying this, but her performance isn't awful, but it's not great. I think everybody make a big deal about Jamie Lee Curtis just because she's Jamie Lee now.
Mm-hmm.
Or what you can say about her, say, in the early 90s and what she did after she got out of horror. And that's what makes it more, oh my God, Jamie Lee Curtis was in Halloween. Because I've said for years that I think, like take away the fact that Halloween 4, 5, and 6 exist, but just the fact that I think Dr. Loomis is more of a protagonist than Laurie Strode is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's the doctor, he knows the monster. He's the one who can inform everybody on the dangers of it. I think that's more of a tug and pull than, oh, sad victim. Mm-hmm. Now I gotta fight him.
Right. Like you said, like the performances from Laurie Strode and her friends and everybody else, they're fine. But when I remember seeing this movie for the first time, it was Donald Pleasance that drew me in just because there was so much to his character. And how he felt like he was a man on the hunt for his patient. There was more focus on it. I was quoting his lines constantly when I first saw Halloween. Like, this guy is so cool. He's, like, so in the zone. And you just can't take your eyes off him other than Michael Myers. But, like, it was those two that I always went back to. Not necessarily Laurie Strode. And, like, I know Jamie Lee Curtis, know who she is. But, like you said, it's Donald Pleasance that you're drawn to the most.
And I felt like because he's also a psychiatrist, he's a psychiatrist on the edge yet, and nobody's believing him. And you know what it's like when you try to talk to somebody and say, look, there's something bad going on, and it's like, whatever. And then shit hits the fan, and you're like, I tried telling you. And then in the twist with all that shit is, oh, you knew about this, and your patients, it's like, are you fucking serious? It's my fault? Like, I was literally warning you people. And again, like you said, John, with the performance and how cool you thought he was, he delivered those lines in Halloween so well that, like, this is the other thing that people don't understand about why performance is so important and why Donald Pleasance is more of a star in Halloween than Jamie Lee Curtis, is because he has a look along with his performance. You see the bald head, the goatee, the trench coat, And then you also interject the lines, and you just don't say things like, "Oh, I met this 6-year-old boy with his blank, pale, emotionless face." You know, he dives deep and gets into detail about how it's affecting him, and he says, "I found this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face." You know, he gives so much to the performance that, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis is really just playing a teenager getting hunted.
On the run, yeah. Also, Donald Pleasance gets top billing, and he got paid the most in the $350,000 budget.
So, to me, it made sense why, if you took away the sister shit, which really was all bullshit anyway, it was just something to say, like, oh, here's an idea for
How
a
do we
sequel.
continue the story?
Exactly. That I think Donald Pleasance and Dr. Loomis is really the star of the show next to Michael Myers, and that's where the continuation carries on.
Yeah.
Did they execute it well? No.
No.
I mean, you can have an opinion on the sequels if you like them, great.
I
mean, they could be guilty pleasures for all I care.
He hung on for 4 more movies. I mean, he was already a proven veteran actor. He's kind of like reached that point of his age, like a lot of actors do. Like, you know, I've done a lot. I'm just going to ride this out and continue with this franchise, because what else am I going to do? I'm not going to go out and pursue other roles.
Probably,
this is my role.
He was probably getting mad bank for those movies, too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I think people really still respected him in those movies as
Absolutely.
Well. I know, I watched the sequels for him mainly. And actually Danielle Harris, too, because she was... That's where she got started. We talk about performances. I think Danielle Harris actually was more of a standout performance than Jamie Lee Curtis was.
Oh, absolutely.
You can make the argument for that. Yeah, you could.
And not only was Danielle Harris played Jamie Lloyd in Halloween as a tribute to Jamie Lee Curtis. But I know you might have an opinion on this, John, but I actually enjoyed Scout Taylor Compton in Rob Zombie's Halloween in some ways as a better Laurie. But I will defend this performance because it was more modern, and the whole brother-sister dynamic was already embedded. There was nothing like, oh, this is what's happening next in the sequel. You already knew about the brother-sister dynamic and how that was going to play into effect, and it was a brand new take and twist on it. And then when you see her in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's H2, she brings a lot more emotion to it, but again, the Rob Zombie dialogue and the Rob Zombie aesthetic and everything just overshadows what she really did bring to the table. And that's where it becomes a big problem, because it's the Rob Zombie interjection. I mean, you make that a Halloween reboot, and you make it just a Halloween sequel, and see her a little more distraught without the Rob Zombie-isms, I think it'd be a much better performance and get more recognized.
I'm just holding in my breath. But yes, okay.
Well, am I wrong?
I agree to disagree.
So you hated everything about her.
I thought there was no differentiation between her character and her friends. I felt like they were all the same. And you could say, yes, it's because Rob Zombie's dialogue is what's playing into this. And I just didn't feel like her performance was just kind of hit and miss for me.
Okay.
Yes, I obviously prefer her performance in the first movie. The second one, where it's just fuck. Well,
that was everybody.
Constantly. There are a number of scenes where that happened, and my face is buried in my hands at this moment. And in terms of her flipping on a switch and how she almost like hit her hand on a spinning fan when she realizes that she's the sister, but you kind of knew that in the first movie, didn't you? Or at least you put that 2 and 2 together at some point during that movie, as I thought you did.
No.
You did. The whole the scene in the basement where he's like showing pictures of them together and everything.
Because she didn't know.
Yeah,
she was like, what are you telling me?
Okay.
Yeah. She literally didn't understand.
She read in the book in part 2. Loomis's book, who becomes very unlikable in that movie. I didn't like that at all.
See, that's the Rob Zombie thing, though. You can't really fault her on that because he can't direct people. It's almost like she was trying to bring her thing to the table, but that's why I said it. She felt restricted to me. It's like, oh no, you got to say this like 100 different fucks right here, in a mirror that says "wake the fuck up," and it's like, well, that's not her fault. Yeah. And like you said, like those quick cuts and stuff, that sometimes judders the performance as well.
I mean, at least in the first movie, she felt more like she actually tried to take control and take down Michael Myers. But in the second one, I felt like she was just running. Well, all she did was run away.
In a way, she was though, because she wanted to get away from that trauma that she went through. Mm-hmm. And on top of it, when that part of her stuff in Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, that was pretty much, I don't want to say shot for shot remake of the original, but you got probably the closest to the original that you got from Rob Zombie. Like all that bullshit from before with the prequel stuff, that's Rob Zombie's bullshit. Mm. And then I felt like she was more modern with girls at that age at that time. Of course, not everybody acted like that, but I thought it was an appropriate little twist to it. And I know you said that she didn't like really differentiate from her friends, but a lot of friends, if you noticed at that time, had similarities. I mean, look at us. We have like strong similarities too.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, that's what just kind of like I didn't see anything wrong with how it was. Like how she'd be different from her friends, and that is just what I'm saying. Right. I'm not trying to sway your opinion, but I'm just trying to tell you like how I view it. Just kind of like how people were all up in arms about that kid in Freddy vs. Jason, and they said, "Oh, he looked like a
Jason Mewes."
Yeah, he looked like Jason Mewes, who played Jay from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh yeah, because he does.
but at that time, there was at least one kid, maybe not in your grade, but in the school, that looked exactly like that.
Absolutely.
So when people said, "Oh man, he's a ripoff," I was like,
"Is he though?"
But every school had one.
It's true. Not to mention, well, I mean, Jay was much older in the other movies. Jay and Silent. This is a high school kid, so he's obviously less mature. They're both immature, but one is obviously a lot more immature than the other. So, yeah. No, it's true though. There is a character like that in almost every school.
That's why I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, because it's like people gotta stop. Just it's not this like original organic character that Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes created. People are like that.
Hey, Mike Judge discovered like the real Beavis and Butthead at a gas station. Two kids that were just having stupid conversations with one another, laughing inappropriately and like mouth breathing constantly. Is like, I'm going to make that into a show.
I got something.
Because they are the real deal, and kids are like that. So yeah, Jay and Silent Bob, Mike Judge. Oh yeah, they base a lot of their characters based on someone grounded very much in reality. Should we get to our lists? You think?
Do you guys have anything else to say leading into this? Or?
I would say honestly, like you both really touched on a lot of big points, like mainly Rob Zombie's points, but
Rob Zombie mostly.
But there's a lot to say about that, because you can take a really good performance and then just have it so saturated because it gets so watered down from his bullshit of filmmaking.
Bad dialogue and
exactly. That's why I said, like, if you can, like, on the surface level, like you said, John, at first it's like, oh my god, what is this? But then when you take that shit away because you know it's just so bad and that's what's killing it, and you go, okay, well, there's something there, but if you take this out, it can be a hell of a lot more better.
It's hard to do just because you're so focused on what you're seeing and you're trying to create a different picture in your mind, but it's your mind versus what you're actually seeing in person.
And it takes a second viewing or multiple viewings, because some people aren't the biggest Rob Zombie fans. They just want to go watch a movie and have a good time, and that's it. Now, for guys like us, who are going to break it down and really dive deep into it, sometimes you need a second view. Like, on the surface, I mean, maybe Halloween 3 wasn't, like, the greatest thing ever. Like I've said before, I watched it and I got into it, but then I was just so taken out by the robots and the silly nonsense with Stonehenge. And I felt like it wasn't really a horror movie. It was more sci-fi and, like, weird shit.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers type shit.
Yeah. And I'm kind of, like, at the point where I'm like, I can enjoy it, but I don't really know if it's a good movie because of this dumb shit. But I still enjoy it.
Man. It was ahead of its time.
It was. Yeah. Imagine if that movie had been a success, we could have gotten years of really well-crafted anthology Halloween movies by a different director almost every year.
I agree.
We could have had that, but obviously the fans were screaming for Michael Myers, and that plan was canned instantly.
Actually, I heard in an interview, Tom Atkins was doing some Q&As, and he said that the producers during the production of it had said, after this, we're going back to Michael Myers.
So they already knew.
So they already knew even then. That's probably why the marketing didn't... They were just like, oh, fuck it, let it out.
Then why call it Halloween 3 when they could have just called it Season of the Witch?
Because I guess if you called it Halloween 3, it could have made more money regardless.
If they called it something else, the producers were not going to make the movie. That's what it came down to. Tommy Lee Wallace, the director, has publicly stated, the only reason why this movie got made is because we had to have Halloween 3 in the title. And it's the film's curse, because we want to make this movie, we want to release it, but there's a catch. You got to have it as Halloween 3, and he hated that. But he knew the film wasn't going to get made if it wasn't that title.
But the original pitch was the anthology series, too.
It
wasn't until at the very end or in the middle of production where they said, no, never mind, we're just going to go back to Michael
Even during
Myers.
filming, he knew that people were hoping to see Michael Myers again. He's like, well, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to see him, but in a different light.
I mean, technically, they reintroduce Season of the Witch now, they could fix Halloween Kills. I mean, literally. Because they have made him into such a superhuman at this point. And when... I'm going to do a fucking spoiler. When they pull his mask off, it does act a little more human. But when he gets the mask back on, he's more superhuman.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you can tell that the fucking writer and the director is a fan of Halloween 3. I've seen those masks more in those fucking movies.
Oh, we have too, yes.
And I'm like, yo, it's a big hint. All you got to do is film a 10-minute segment with fucking Tom Atkins showing up as the Doctor.
Yeah.
And that's it.
The witch, the skull, the pumpkin, they're all over those new movies.
So all you have to do is that, and then I feel like it would make Halloween Kills a better movie because now you have the understanding that he might have been the original robot. Well, brainwash.
Yeah.
Brainwash.
Experiment.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Patient zero.
If they bring Tom Atkins back and he's still a doctor, he better be outside the hospital smoking.
Oh, he better have like a 6-pack in his hand. No, and a chick around his other arm.
Yeah, he sees everybody coming in while he's smoking and be like, yo, I got a story for you. Hey, you want a beer while I tell it? That should be how it goes down.
Because even Jason Blum was saying he does want to do a follow-up to Season of the Witch.
He did say that. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, well, you've already got a series started.
I think who knows, that might be why Halloween Ends is the title.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Seriously, he needs to have a 6-pack in one hand and Stacey Nielkin's robot arm on his crotch. Seriously.
Yeah, he still has it.
He still has the hand.
And her head in a jar.
Oh, God.
Talking about performances, that man right there.
Talk about performances.
Legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, so we came up with a list of the top 5 performances in horror that we all thought of for ourselves that were the best ones. I know for me personally, I tried to stay away from the typical ones like the Universal monsters like Karloff and Lugosi, Robert Englund, obviously, because they are who they are for a reason. We all know them. And we like to bring something new and different to the table and let people know some other performances that are outside of the box that they can go, okay, yeah, that was really solid. Because sometimes you don't realize how good these performances actually are until somebody brings something to your attention. Just like how we were talking about Scout Taylor Compton. You might see it on the surface and go, oh, well, fuck this movie, fuck her performance. And then when you listen and go, well, you know what, maybe you guys got something here.
I would say, even so, the performance of not even a main character could make a movie better. Even one of the side characters, even before their death, could probably show something more emotion than what your main character's doing or your killer. It could make the movie for you.
And it's not always the killer either. Everybody always says, oh, the killer this, the killer that. It's like, listen, there are how many Friday the 13th movies, and it took 7 to get to Kane Hodder?
Yeah.
So, I mean, nobody could even get the mask right in Halloween up until, 2018? Well, I will say Rob Zombie's mask was pretty damn close, too.
Monster.
But yeah, that's our list that we came up. I know for me personally, that's how I went about it. I don't know how you guys did, but I believe we're all going to be surprised to hear what we have to
Yeah,
say.
we will be.
So you guys want me to start it off?
You kick it off.
Okay.
Kick it off.
Do it like we do the round table.
All right.
Go you, man.
My top 5 best performances, starting with Alice Cooper in Freddy's Dead, the voice in When a Stranger Calls, Bruce the Shark in Jaws, Elizabeth Berkley in Showgirls, and the Witch in the Blair Witch Project.
Get the fuck
What
out
the
of here.
hell?
I might fight you outside.
Are you serious right now? Please tell me you're joking.
Wait, so you're saying that Showgirls is a horror movie?
Showgirls is a horror movie.
Which kind of horror? According to my watch, it clearly doesn't know the difference between a horror and horror.
Maybe we gotta differentiate that performance.
The way you were just like spitballing these, not really putting so much description, like this has got to be bullshit, man.
Because you said you're going to defend it. I'm like, I don't even know how he's going to defend the voice from When a Stranger Calls. Like, which version, the remake or the...
I was surprised you guys aren't bitching about the Witch and
the Witch and the Blair Witch Project.
I gave up on that. That's like...
Okay.
Fucking dick.
It's great.
I don't even know if I have 5 on here to tell you the truth. Because I've been working a lot of overtime and I've been all over the place recently. A couple big ones here. Typical one, I would say, was Norman Bates in Psycho. I feel like he gets not really the credit. Kind of has been known as more like Janet Leigh in the shower scene more, but even, believe it or not, in the sequels to Psycho, nobody really knows that there are, 4 movies altogether?
Something, yeah.
And really, they're not that bad.
I think 3's the only one that falters a little bit, and 4 is, I think...
4's like a prequel / current
something
thing.
Like that, yeah.
And Anthony Perkins just kills it in the whole series. No pun intended.
He's committed throughout the whole franchise.
He's fantastic.
Honestly, I think his best performance is probably Psycho 2, because now you're dealing with the fact that he knows that he's messed up and he's trying to get better. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like one of those dynamics of, well, can I control it? So that's what that performance I think is probably his best one out of the 4.
I agree.
It's underrated, Psycho 2.
Yeah, it is. I heard some people even say that they think Psycho 2 is better than the original Psycho, which says a lot of merit because you're going up against a Hitchcock classic. And for decades, I had no idea there was a sequel to Psycho. And I admit, when I first found out, I said, oh my god, this has to be terrible.
Yeah.
Because nobody talks about it. And here it's really solid.
And the funny thing, did Anthony Perkins direct that one too?
3, I believe.
I knew he directed one of them.
3.
The third one, yes.
Vincent Price, I had to say Vincent Price just because I can't pinpoint one performance.
Okay.
Because he's overall just great in everything he does. He's just that master of the macabre. One of my favorite movies of his is House of Wax, but I don't say that might be his best performance.
It's definitely a good performance, but I wouldn't say it's his best.
But I just know overall that I love that movie. I love him in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
the story created is really, really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Phoebes and Mask of the Red Death, I think you probably find some much better performances in there.
Actually, I think one of his better performances is the Comedy and Terror, where he actually isn't playing it straight-laced, he's playing it like really funny. He's a drunk trying to...
Comedy of Terror.
Yeah, he's a funeral director trying to get money for being a funeral director, and he ends up killing people. But he's playing a drunk. So it's like him, that dude's tall, so trying to see him play that throughout is actually really funny.
Tall man.
And then I'd even say Madhouse is a decent one, doing the same dynamic of trying to like show how crazy he's getting. And then was it Theater of Blood?
Theater of Blood.
Oh yeah, that's one of his better performances too.
He's always wanted to do Shakespeare, and he never got the chance to do it until that movie. That's why it's so personal to him in that film, Theater of Blood.
I would say like his Edgar Allan Poe movies are decent. They're a fun watch, but it's like nothing stands out because he's playing almost the same character really throughout the whole thing. Yeah. Where it's that really like straight, like solemn character. I'm like, I get it, but
even House on Haunted Hill's kind of like that, where you know something's not up with this guy because he just has everything pre-planned. And you know that he's up to it, and it's Vincent Price. He had a reputation at that point. But, I mean, Vincent Price to me is just He's also not just one of my favorite horror actors. He's one of my favorite actors in general. I love learning about history of Vincent Price. I remember Jeff was jealous of this shirt I had of him.
I still am. But I got the Sid Haig one like it now.
Yeah. Another one I'm going to say is Nev Campbell from Scream. I felt like she's an incredible horror actress, in that series.
Absolutely.
Another mixed one, I didn't put her on the list, but I want to put her next to Nev, was Heather Langenkamp, especially in Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
That performance, like if you think she was good and if you loved her in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, I think in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, that's probably like her best performance ever. Just from like,
yeah.
And it's almost like a sequel where she kind of like was traumatized and just moved on, and then shit's just coming back, but it's not affecting her, but she's kind of having like PTSD flashes. You can almost see it as almost like a Halloween 2018 in a way, really.
You can.
If you think about it.
It's very meta, but yes, you can see it that way. I go back and forth between her performance in 3 and New Nightmare, because I think those two, I think that's where she really shines.
I agree, and you know what? That's the way sequels should do, because they go and they progress and the character builds and gets stronger.
You learn more about them.
Yeah, and they move on and they build instead of regress or retread. So yeah, but Nev Campbell, for somebody who didn't even really want to be in horror, and now she's the face of the franchise along with Courtney Cox and David Arquette. But she's such a strong, kick-ass character. Like she had lines like even in Scream 2. When she was talking to, fuck's his name? Timothy Oliphant. And he's talking about how he's going to be the next Billy and Stu. And she said, yeah, well, you're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. And he goes, oh, yeah, what's that? And she goes, I fucking killed him.
Yeah.
It's badass.
It's great. And even when like Ghostface is calling her on the phone, she's like, then why don't you show yourself, you fucking coward? My pleasure. He's right there.
She gets stronger, like we just said about Heather Langenkamp. She builds and becomes better. And I think Nev Campbell just totally knocks it out of the park. And she's just kind of like not really known for her performance, but known for being
the face.
Exactly. Another one that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot is Christian Bale in American Psycho.
Yeah. Yes.
That's been a go-to movie for me for years. It has been kind of campy, lost under the shuffle of him being Batman and getting into A-list star fame. But he knew exactly what that was. Originally, Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be cast in it, but
there's a creative story about how that went back and forth between those actors to who's going to get the role.
But they made the right choice. I think
did.
Bale just absolutely nails it. If you read the book, I feel like there's similarities yet differences where Bale made the movie his character, but yet you can see the DNA in the book. But I absolutely just love this performance, and it just leaves you wondering and guessing at the very end as to what actually is going on. But he just plays that.
I'm sorry, all I could think of was like, don't stare at it, eat it.
It's a film lover's dream movie because it's open to interpretation, but his performance is what really makes the whole thing work.
And there was an interesting dynamic where people were kind of like, I don't know if influenced by Patrick Bateman is the right word, not to be a psycho, but I think it was almost like a businessman is a rock star kind of thing, because that doesn't really happen. Because here he had money, he was getting girls, he was doing drugs, he was living a frivolous lifestyle, and he was getting away with murder. So I think it was like that, I don't have to be an artist or a musician or be in the performing arts, I could do this. And then the director and writer were like, well, there's nothing cool about this guy.
He's serial killer Batman.
Yeah. But he had great lines, great dialogue. It was funny. It could be scary. Like you said, John, it's a film lover's dream. I think that was another reason why I was just so drawn to it. I mean, it's one of those movies that to me just gets better every time.
Yeah.
I feel like the original unrated version is better than the unrated version we have now.
Really? Okay.
As funny as it sounds, there's like little subtle differences in there, but
okay.
I guess it's kind of better if like we would actually do a watch along and go, okay, here's this version and here's that version. Sometimes they add a little more extra dialogue that I think is too much, and you don't really need it.
I'll have to go back and revisit that, because I know in the book it keeps going because Christian Bale's final monologue in the movie, but the book actually goes on from that point. It actually keeps going after that moment. I didn't know if that was part of the unrated version, if there's anything after the end, or it just ends with his eyes. And
it just ends with his eyes.
It just ends with his eyes and cut to black. Okay.
Yeah. And last but not least, it's not really a horror movie, but it's considered a gothic horror. Hands down, I think it's got to be well known out of all of them, is Brandon Lee and The Crow.
Actually, yeah.
Okay. His performance did scare me as a kid. It really did.
It's in the same vein as that Batman 89 gothic horror kind of feel and atmosphere. It brought a little bit more of the gothic element in. It had supernatural elements to it as well. Obviously, he was a dead musician. His soul is just so tormented by the fact that he couldn't do anything to save the woman he loved. Mm-hmm. And so the Crow says, all right, well, I'm going to bring you back, and you can kill the people and gather revenge, and then you can put your soul at rest and be united with the one you love. Also, there was the story of the Skull Cowboy.
Yes.
Which not too many people know about. I'm not going to get too in depth with it because I feel like that's a discussion when we actually get to the Crow at one point, which I know we will. But if anybody sees the pictures, it was portrayed by Michael Berryman. It had more of a supernatural element to it, and he was kind of like the guiding voice. Like the Crow was the guiding figure.
The vessel.
But the Skull Cowboy was the voice of the vessel.
Okay.
And very supernatural, elementy, gothic horror. Brandon Lee was on his way to becoming an A-list star. He had incredible range and talent. I think in that movie you felt for him. You absolutely fell in love with him and his performance. I was fortunate enough to meet Ernie Hudson, and he said that Brandon Lee in general as a person was just a great human being. Mm. So it just makes everything sadder as to what happened.
Yeah.
But when gathering up this info, I just wanted to say that I think he easily takes the number one spot. Even though, like I said, it's not a horror movie, but it's gothic horror.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's my top 5.
We're going to have different lists.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I love this.
And this is great.
Well, you go next.
You go next. We're going to go...
Yeah, like we normally do.
Great. Okay. So, Colin, you had your 5. I do have an honorable mention just to get it out there. I knew I wanted to put Vincent Price on this list. However, there were 5 performances overall that I thought were just a little bit better because, like we talked about, Vincent Price's mannerisms, where Vincent Price is Vincent Price. He kind of portrays the same character. I'm split between 2 films, though, of his. The Mask of the Red Death. He's insanely evil and vile in that movie, to the point where I actually got freaked out a number of times because of his performance as a kid, especially when it came to that one sequence where he's basically putting the girl's love interest and her dad to cut themselves. One of the knives is poisonous, but then he tricked everybody and then ends up killing the father in front of everybody in this entire court. I'm like, you motherfucking scumbag. I don't quite see Vincent Price anymore. I see this conniving prince that basically can do whatever he wants. Almost like a Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones, except an older version. That's what I kind of see. I'm split between that performance and another one that people don't talk about. It's either called Witchfinder General or The Conqueror Worm, where he's portraying Matthew Hopkins, a real figure who was given charge by Oliver Cromwell to rid England of its witch problem. He's not funny in that movie. He's very serious. He doesn't even look like Vincent Price. He's got long hair. He's got the Puritan costume on and basically going around killing people even if he thinks they're innocent or not. He doesn't smile, doesn't wink at the camera. He's the devil doing the work of God. It's really horrifying.
Actually, that's why I hate that movie, because like his performance is so well, I don't like watching it.
And I think I was even more freaked out in the movie when he got killed, because he's getting bludgeoned by this axe in the basement, and you just see it looked like a bag of blood at one time just exploded and just goes everywhere. He's not getting chopped up into pieces. He's just getting beaten repeatedly to a bloody pulp with a fucking axe. And everybody's like horrific reaction at the very end, like, what have we done? But there was no other way. We had to kill this guy and his crew because they would have never stopped until England was rid of people. So I go back and forth between those two performances. Now, number 5, I'm going back and forth in this. And my top 5 performances are based mostly on performances that have traumatized me to a degree. Freaked me out, scared me, maybe I couldn't sleep for like a night or two, but there's something about them that is just uneasy and unsettling. Number 5 for me, this may be a controversial one, but I'm going to say it. Bill Skarsgard as Pennywise the Clown in It Chapter 1 specifically. Because when I'm watching this movie, and I love watching this movie because not only is it bringing back like kind of the fun spirit of Tim Curry a little bit, but I think he's more dark. And I definitely see, just looking at the reaction of the kids, they are terrified of him in this movie. And they even stated in interviews that they were horrified by Bill Skarsgård. Especially Jack Dylan Grazer in that moment where he breaks his wrist and he's like, time to float. Walking towards him, like forcing him to slap him and like trying to bite his hand. Like Jack Dylan Grazer said, I'm crying for real. And Bill Skarsgård is looking at him like, oh. Oh, God, it's too fucking great.
Honestly, like, the performances between Tim Curry and Bill Skarsgård is like two separate things. Like, Tim Curry playing Pennywise is almost like a nicer version where Bill plays him as a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Like, the humor there is so dark and almost backhanded that you know that this dude's fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a Freddy Krueger thing where he makes a joke and you're going, I can't really laugh or like this guy because he's a child murderer and a pedophile, but the shit's just funny.
Yeah.
You know?
But I just like, and even his monologues where he's talking to the kids, especially when he's got Billy like by the throat basically. Or you just leave us be and I'll take him, only him. Like, the way he delivers his lines and just the way he makes it fun. He's like shaking his head. Like his head is like a giant bell. Like he's ringing his head like a giant bell. It's so fucking cool. And then, yeah, that moment where he drags poor Georgie down the fucking drain as he's trying to get away with one arm.
That was horrible.
It was a horrifying thing to see. Ugh.
I mean, I'm already weird about harm to kids and that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know it's a movie, but...
The one that got me was in the second one with the girl with the birthmark on her face.
How he crosses his eyes, and he can do that in real life.
Yeah, that's the one that got me because I'm sitting there. I knew it was coming,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing the thing with the light and the bug.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, please don't. And then he's like, I can fix it. I'm like, fuck no, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. But then he can turn like a light switch and basically come to a sympathetic person. The girl walks away from him. He starts crying, like to try and lure her back in. Like, nobody likes me because I am a clown. Like, he is a clown. Like, oh damn man, I'm sorry. Chomp, kill. It's so damn good. I know Bill Hader. He says like, how do you do that? Like, can you actually do that? Is that CGI? And Bill Skarsgård did it with a snap of his fingers. And he freaked out instantly. Oh my God, you can really do that. You can really cross your eyes like that. Ugh.
That was effective. It really was.
Really, really effective. So that's my number 5. Number 4. Now, this is a performance that definitely lends itself to a Universal monster, but specifically Gary Oldman's portrayal of Count Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula. I watched these two films back and back. The 1931 Dracula Bela Lugosi and Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, which I'm talking about, the 92 version. Now, Bela Lugosi, he was very much so fixed on his eyes. There are a lot of shots dedicated to his eyes and his stare because that's where his performance gets its power. And, you know, using that to be charismatic and charming to lure people into his spell before he gets them. Gary Oldman brings more layers to that performance, in my opinion. He is a tortured soul who is also incredibly emotional because you see the soldier, you see Dracula as a soldier mourning the death of his wife, and, denouncing God. And that performance comes into fruition later on, hundreds of years into the future, where he basically is now tormenting Jonathan Harker. He appears both young and old. His makeup and costume is fucking brilliant. But he still has that pain and torture when he sees Winona Ryder reminding him of his wife. He's choked up by it. There are moments where you can actually see, Count Dracula's choked up in this moment right now. Like, he might actually cry right now because he misses his wife. And this one and then just, especially that moment, I think it was when he kills Lucy in the form of the wolf, like staring at her through the window. I condemn you to death, living blood. It's just, there aren't many actors that I think that can pull off accents very well. He's one of them, with Daniel Day-Lewis, and there's another actor, it'll come to me, but they own accents. I mean, whether it's Italian, Brooklyn, Hungarian, Russian, British, Irish, you name it, they will do it in a second. And Gary Oldman is one of those actors who can simply nail accents, no matter what region. Oh, I can do that, no problem. Hungarian accent, done. And I remember that one chilling moment where he actually becomes the humanoid bat when Abraham Van Helsing and company, they're basically got him cornered with the cross, and he just fucking turns it into a ball of fire. And I know in that moment, there was an interview with Gary Oldman where he whispered something specific to every actor before that scene took place. And whatever he whispered in their ear freaked the shit out of them. And then they started rolling the camera. So they're looking up at this humanoid bat, and they're just remembering what he said to them before he turns into a pile of rats. But yeah, yes, Bela Lugosi, as great as he is, Gary Oldman's portrayal of Dracula really freaked me out. That laugh, that appearance of being charming, charismatic, and then just seeing those vampiric teeth, the old skin, the shadows that are being cast. It's the most faithful adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel.
That's a very good point, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people keep thinking, oh, well, they made this. And actually, Nosferatu is more original to Dracula than Bela Lugosi's Dracula.
Yeah, that was based on like the Broadway version of Dracula, because Bela Lugosi played Dracula for 3 years running before they made the film version. So this is, as weird as it is, this is Bram Stoker's novel, what he was trying to create. Those eyes in the mountains, those shadows being cast, the fact that Dracula can be young and old, and in the form of mist, a wolf, a bat, whatever you want him to be. He is that monster. So yeah, he's my number 4. We're at number 3 now?
Yeah.
Oh my god. So, what was I got? Number 3. Oh yeah, okay. Number 3 is a more recent performance, and this is probably one of the scariest movies of the past decade next to The Witch, but this one, I give this performance all on the shoulders of Essie Hittens in 2014's Australian horror film, The Babadook. Essie Hittens. She is so damn good, and this is directed by Jennifer Kent. It's a movie about a mother and son dealing with grief. If anyone hasn't seen it, but that fucking pop-up book, and how that basically created this lore to this movie, and then her performance really kicks into high gear like the beginning of the second act, where just her alone, I'm not seeing a monster, I'm seeing a human being freak the shit out of me. It's a damn good performance, and it really comes down to this. Her son is under the impression that he keeps seeing this monster wherever he goes, and she doesn't see it. She thinks her son has mental issues, until all of a sudden this kid is pissing her off so much that she starts to almost embody this monster from the pop-up book. I forget what it was, because there's a moment where like the son tries to like wake her up and she's trying to sleep. And she's just going, all you do is talk, talk, talk. In that moment, like, oh shit, she's going to become the Babadook. And she tells her own son, go outside and eat shit. Like, oh my God. Like even that moment, I don't feel comfortable on my own couch right now. I think I need to like take a walk right now and get out of here. I think I need a break from this movie. It's so good. She's mostly a television actress, but I really think that is a performance that went completely under the radar. People talk about it being one of the scariest films. I need even oh my God, William Friedkin even publicly stated this is the scariest movie I've seen. This right here, and I think it all comes down to really Essie Davis delivering this under the radar performance like a female Jack Nicholson. And that's basically what she kind of is. But she adds her own mannerisms and layer to the character. So I implore you, if anyone hasn't seen The Babadook, go check it out. It's a very indie horror movie. It is a slow burn, but it's brilliant. Yeah, Essie Davis, Australian actress, went to film school with her director, so they knew each other very well. Good performance, great performance. Number 2 is another female. Kathy Bates in Misery. Annie Wilkes. Oh my God, she absolutely deserved the Oscar win for this, and it's actually the only Stephen King movie to ever win an Oscar. Yeah, Shawshank and other movies like The Shining, other Stephen King adaptations. There's a lot of great ones out there, but for Paul Sheldon, a lot of male actors, high A-list actors, turned down the role of Paul Sheldon. Like the list goes in, like to Harrison Ford, to Robert Redford, to Al Pacino. All of these men turned down the role because it's kind of all about Annie Wilkes. She's this like hot, high octane roller coaster of emotion and terror, and we're just kind of confounded to a bed most of the time. So I give a lot of props to James Caan for taking this role. Great performance overall, but it is really the show of Annie Wilkes. It is all Kathy Bates because she is a literal monster, human being monster, but she also has moments to be emotional. Like, there's that one scene in the movie where she says, Paul Sheldon, like, I could never be with someone like you. Like, you're amazing, you're perfect, and look at me. I'm self-conscious about myself. I don't look good. I'm not what you're used to seeing. I wish I could be your wife. I wish I could marry you. I wish I could be with you, but I can't because I'm hideous looking. And, they have like this moment between one another. And then she finds out he tries to break out, and she decides to hobble his ankles and break both of them with a sledgehammer. The book scene's a lot more graphic. She chops his ankle off with an axe and then conceals the wound with a blowtorch. I know that in the book. She chops his one ankle off and his foot and then blowtorches it. I do like the book a little bit more, especially how it ends, but Kathy Bates' performance as Annie Wilkes, I mean, you think, I'm your number one fan. I'm your number one fan. Like hearing that in my dream the one time years ago, and then I'm like, oh, what's she gonna do? It's Kathy Bates. She's gonna be sweet. And then she's standing over his bed holding the fucking manuscript. You dirty bird. Oh fuck, man. Shaking his bed as he's trying to get some sleep from this car wreck. Just because he killed off his prolific character in his book series. All because he decided to end that book series. Misery Chastain's spirit will live on. I don't want her spirit! It's great. It's great stuff. Number 1, we already talked about this movie before, but I can't ignore it. I can't ignore Jack Nicholson in The Shining. I cannot ignore that performance. It's funny. It's terrifying. We've talked about it to death, but it is the definition of psychological horror in Jack Nicholson's performance as Jack Torrance in The Shining. I can't ignore it. It is that damn good. And we've already talked about it now. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, no
Seriously.
arguments there. That's a good list, John.
Yeah. I was impressed with several of them.
You were impressed with several of them?
Wow.
I had nothing bad to say. I mean, like, literally, I wanted to say some shit, but I'm like, I got nothing bad.
Am I going to get choked up now?
No, I'll choke you later. But...
Kane Hodder style?
Yeah. As I'm listening to, like, everyone's list, it's like, mine's actually 90% female.
That's awesome.
Because, like, there's 2 honorable mentions that They probably make my top 10, but didn't make the top 5. It would be Dee Wallace in Cujo, because the amount of emotion that woman showed there, being with her son in that car the whole fucking time. I mean,
tough.
I feel like that doesn't get enough recognition at all, because that's hard to do. I mean, like, literally, just those two in the car for 2/3 of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other one was Winona Ryder. She doesn't get enough credit for the amount of movies that she's in. Horror, creepy, whatever. I mean,
yeah.
Like, everyone's introduction probably at this table was probably Lydia Deetz in Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
That was the double feature for Batman when my mom and dad took me to the drive-in at 2.
So it's like, even she was there when we were kids, so it's like we already knew who she was, and then kind of seeing her in Bram Stoker's Dracula and stuff like that. Even
Edward
in
Scissorhands?
Yeah,
Yes.
like even Stranger Things now. I mean, like, she still performs. She also in movies I will never watch in my life, but. And then the other honorable mention is Barbara Crampton.
Yep.
She's another one that, like I said, would have made my top 10, but didn't make my top 5. Almost did. But it was the performance she did in Jacob's Wife that caught me off guard. Like, I've seen a lot of her movies.
I have to see that.
And it was like, she does an amazing job in those, but that's the one that stuck out. Like, you can tell there's a lot more passion in this than it was in a lot of other things. Like, watching You're Next, it was like, all right, there's a little bit, but she was short-lived in that. Beyond the Gates was... But, like, you look at, like, Reanimator and The Beyond and Castle Freak, those 3 movies from the 80s, like, you could see she outshines. Like,
Shopping Mall.
Yeah, Shopping Mall. I was like, those 3 actually make her outshine. Like, at some points, I feel like she outshines Jeffrey Combs in Reanimator and Castle Freak.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, she doesn't get the recognition that she should. She
yeah.
ended up getting out of it in the 90s because nobody wanted her, and then I'm glad she came back. And so then my number 5 is actually going to probably shock you both. It is Fiona Dorff in Cult of Chucky, because going from being the paraplegic, is that the right word?
Yeah.
And then instantly watching her change into her fucking dad. Mannerisms, voice, everything. It caught me off guard. I'm sitting there watching this, I'm like, oh my fucking god. I'm like, but if you're hearing that laugh, hearing that voice for years, I'm going to say at least 30 years, you're going to pick it up. I mean, like, I feel like she doesn't get the recognition just for that scene alone. Like, she does an amazing work, but that's the one scene that caught me. And the movie might be trash, but... And I was like, even watching her interact with Jennifer Tilly, like, all the mannerisms are there, and I'm like, damn.
Fuck that kid.
But yeah, it was the laugh that got me on that one. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Like father, like daughter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even with the red hair.
Yeah.
She does look like him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that's his kid.
That's Brad Dourif's daughter.
Yeah.
My number 4 is actually Judy Greer in the 2018 Halloween. The scene that caught me was the switch. When she realizes she's baiting Michael and then shoots him in the fucking neck. And I'm sitting there going, she's like freaking out, like, oh my god, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, alright, it's typical. All of a sudden the switch, she goes, I fucking got you. I'm like, oh.
I think the whole audience gasped when that happened.
I think out of everything, that was the most memorable scene, or the most like, oh shit.
I mean, even in that movie, I felt like that outshined a lot of her other stuff too. Like, she's also a side character, and like everything she does, like, she's I guess a B or a C-list actress, but even that performance there, like, being the annoyed daughter throughout the whole thing, like, understanding that your mom's going through some stress and trauma, like, she played it off perfectly. Even in Halloween Kills, I felt like her character outshined Laurie's in that. Because even in then, she's still trying to counteract the crazy that her mom is. And the crazy of Michael. I'm sorry, I just thought of the stupid fucking Evil Dies Tonight. That's like this heartfelt thing about Judy Greer. Also, do Evil Dies Tonight. But even those 2 movies, like, those I would say are like really amazing performances by her, and she doesn't get enough. Like I said, Jamie Lee Curtis is gonna outshine her because it's fucking Jamie Lee Curtis at this point.
Yeah, that's what annoys me with it. I mean, I think she's gotten better, especially because of 2018. She's like grown as we said the character should do. She's not the victim. She kind of has taken on the I'm gonna fuck this guy up because of what happened, and she kind of has like that knowledge of like Dr. Loomis, knowing he's bad. So, and she experienced it, kind of how he experienced treating him in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is just gonna get it because she's got the reputation.
Taking on that Sarah Connor type role with guns everywhere. Oh,
Which
yeah.
wasn't bad. It
No.
added another layer to the character.
It did.
That's really sore. And it was nice that she was traumatized. Like in Halloween H2O, you got she's traumatized but moving on and then has to overcome it. And in 2018, she was traumatized, still traumatized.
Not dealing with it well at all.
Basically trying to wait to overcome it.
It's better in 2018.
It was better.
I would say, honestly, that was the only reason she came back. Jamie Lee Curtis read the script, and I can't remember the writer's name. He gave her
David
script.
Gordon Green directed it, and
he was like, "Hey, do you want to be in another Halloween?" And she's like, "No." He goes, "I'll send you a script. Just read it." And then
Danny McBride wrote it.
But it was one of those things, like, when she read it, she saw that, like, yeah, it's Laurie dealing with the trauma of that night, and it's actually showing the aftermath. It's not dealing with, like, how she did in H2O, where she was an alcoholic. Well,
yeah.
This one, she became a survivalist.
Yes.
But, yeah. Where am I at 3?
This is number 3 for you.
All right. This one is actually kind of a given, because it's Kane Hodder's performance in 7. I would say technically I felt like C.J. Graham started it, but Kane Hodder made it into his own, where the whole like mannerisms of Jason became what it was.
I can clarify some things for you, because I met Tom McLaughlin, the director of Part 6, up at Mahoning, and I was talking to him about CJ's performances and Kane's performances, and he said that, Kane did perfect it with the breathing and the motions, that he brought more physicality to the character, but he wanted CJ to be more like the Terminator because he just electrocuted him, and how's the zombie gonna react?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the motivation, I guess, for CJ.
But even with let's say I'm trying to think of the dude right before him. Fuck 5.
Fuck 5.
Yeah, the one from 4 to 6. You can see there's a difference there. We're getting like that look and the mannerisms, but I can see he was a little stiff. Where like Kane Hodder like made it into I'm Jason. Where it's like that's one thing like that movie will always stick with me, because the look, the way he acted, everything is always going to stand out. And then the girl Tina with her power is always going to stick out with me, because those two things are left and right field. They should never be in the same movie, but it worked.
I agree with you there.
There's my other honorable mention, the woman that played Tina.
Yeah, there you go.
That, like I said, just those two standing out. My number 2 is actually still gonna be Danielle Harris from Halloween 5. As much as a shitty movie that was, her non-speaking performances were what made that movie. That'll always stick with me no matter what, because yeah, that's the only reason I would talk about that movie.
Yes, her and Donald Pleasance are the two people we only talk about in that movie. So true.
And then my number 1 is, I could not remember her name for the life of me, so I had to call her for his phone, is Anna Joy. Is it Anna Taylor-Joy?
Anna Taylor-Joy.
From The Witch. She sold that movie 100%. And I feel like she doesn't get enough credit for all the shit she's in. I mean, look at her in New Mutants. Split. I mean, those right there just fucking...
And I heard she's in like the new version of, they're going to do another Nosferatu film. I heard she was going to be attached to it. I think from the director of The Witch.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So they might actually do
Robert Eggers. Yeah.
The same style as that, where they, instead of like making it like natural light, so it's going to take, obviously it might be another period piece. So, but if they use her, I think she's gonna sell it again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she brings it.
She's amazing in that film. That film is littered with performances, but it's really that third act where she really does get to shine.
Yeah.
And fly.
Yeah.
But
Usually I come up with the stupid dad jokes around here.
I'm the fucking dad. None of
You're the dad, man. No, I love dad jokes. They're horrible, but I fucking love them.
Yeah, one of my favorites is, can you perform under pressure? No, but I'm pretty good at Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
No, those were really good lists. I like those.
I mean, like It varied a lot.
It
I was
really
I was
did
expecting
vary.
some crossovers, and we didn't have any.
No, we didn't.
Like, yeah, we talked about a few like people's on other lists, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, this is ours. I don't know. Like, it definitely fits our 3 different personalities though.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple other ones that I could say that really stood out were John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe in Shadow of the Vampire. Speaking of Nosferatu.
Yes, good ones.
Another one that impressed me in that movie was Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Oh my God, he is in that movie.
He played Hutter.
He is the director. I don't know why I'm doing that.
No, he was the actor.
I was like the director. Because they actually had that.
That's how you make movies back then, right? 1920s, crank.
Malkovich was the director.
All I remember was him, and all I remember was the...
Yeah. Specifically Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck. I
Yes.
think he fucking was incredible.
All of those guys in that movie. That was just that movie's damn near perfect, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun movie, too.
Absolutely.
Even Klaus Kinski as when he played Nosferatu in Werner Herzog's version of Nosferatu, which I saw last year. Damn, that whole movie. Not damn it in a bad way, damn it in an amazing way.
Jeff mentioned honorable mentions like Tina from Friday the 13th Part 7. I thought Tom Matthews in Part 6 was a good hero for the Friday the 13th series.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really get a whole lot of other heroes in those series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. If I had to pick like one hero in my list, it would probably be Sam Loomis. It'd be Donald Pleasance in Halloween. If I had to pick one hero horror performance, go with him. But yeah, I did have Robert Englund on my list at one point. Specifically the first movie, because that's when you see the dark, underlying, dreamlike, really disturbing character of Freddy Krueger. The fact that they really hone in on the idea that he was a child murderer and possibly a pedophile who killed more than 20 kids. And years down the road, he became more of an MTV icon and became more of a caricature and more funny. It's like, I prefer the dark shit.
Actually, I think The New Nightmare is probably his best one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's taking everything that he's learned as Freddy over those years and really showing how dark that monster is.
It is a good performance. It's still a good performance. Yeah, he gets to play himself and Freddy Krueger in the film, so it's pretty cool.
It was more menacing and not so much funny. And when he did do jokes like, "Hey Dylan, you ever play Skin the Cat?"
They were dark, backhanded jokes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the
Just like the first one. Yeah.
It wasn't the in your face like 4 and 5 stupid jokes.
No screaming while the bus is in motion.
Oh God, yeah.
Fucking. Now what's the one from Part 5? Because that had some pretty clever kills, but the movie itself sucked so much.
Was that
The Dream Child.
Okay.
But it was the black and white graphic novel sequence, which I was enjoying until he decided to invoke his inner demon Superman, faster than a bastard maniac, more
Super
powerful
Freddy.
than a local madman. Here's Super Freddy. Fuck me, man.
Oh my fucking gosh.
You got Welcome to Primetime, bitch. I'll give you that. That was a great one.
And Robert Englund, that was one of the
That was
only
an
lines
improv
that Robert
line.
Englund improvised.
Yes.
Otherwise, most of them were written,
Yes.
he said. And that's probably his most memorable line out of all of them. Because the original line was, what was it? Oh, this is it, your big break in TV.
Yeah.
Because of him smashing the girl's head in the TV. And he said, this just doesn't taste right in my mouth.
We need
Just
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess in the first movie you could probably say, "This is God."
Oh, I'm your boyfriend now.
Or I'm your
Nancy.
boyfriend now, Nancy. Yeah.
Watch that on the big screen.
Fucking
And you guys got to see it on 35 millimeter.
Thank
Mahoney.
God we did. It was beautiful.
It was like father and son in the boiler room, and then the Freddy Krueger actor who was like acting with you guys.
Yeah.
Jeff is like, why am I like the dad who's being dragged to the movie theater while the kid is like having the time of his life?
We should clarify that because Jeff and I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street at Mahoning Drive-In for Freddy Fest, and what they like to do there for their festivals or big events is they create a stage where you can go and pose with like backdrops and things related to the movies that are going on at hand. Here, JT Mills, and does his girlfriend?
She does I know she helps, so I know she does a lot of pictures.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she does the backdrops, but they created this backdrop of the boiler room in Nightmare on Elm Street. And JT's costume for Freddy was fucking spot on.
It was pretty good looking.
Yeah.
The funny thing is about those pictures, if you actually see like the ones we didn't post, there's ones I'm just standing there staring at them because I'm like,
wow.
yeah, like literally, I'm not even moving, and it's just like Colin had to shove me to realize we're taking pictures. Because I'm like looking like, wow, this is really detailed. I'm like looking intently at this poor dude's face. It's like the most awkward thing ever. And I didn't know pictures were happening.
Yeah, neither did I at one point, because even I was like, damn, this is some damn good getup here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we posed for those pictures, and they made a big deal about the festival and stuff, which they should, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're still salty that they pulled Scream.
I wasn't even there, and I'm salty about it.
But the funny thing about the night is we did that, and then we ended up coming back and watching the Halloween special for last Friday.
Yeah, that we did.
That's cool. That's cool.
You guys have any other performances that you felt like were honorable mentions, or actors that were in some movies that you said, hey, check this out?
You have to give me a minute, because every Halloween, every October, I try to make it a point to see at least like 5 or 6 different horror movies I've never seen before. And believe me, there are fucking thousands out there. You might have to come back to me, because there's got to be something.
I was going to say, I think Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard really don't get the credit for playing Billy and Stu in Scream.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking sold that.
Because if you watch the other movies, I mean, despite the stories being different, none of those killers are as good as Billy and Stu.
I think the only runners-up would probably be the cousin in 4. That would be like, I would say even not the same level, but not...
What is her name? Yeah,
I think Laurie Metcalf, to me, would probably be second. Just because it was Billy's mom.
Yeah. She had a little bit more of
motive. And and when she snaps, Laurie Metcalf is a very talented actress. So when she snaps and brings it, she really brings it. Mm-hmm. And you can feel the motive. And I felt like she was also in that movie more than Timothy Olyphant was. So when he was revealed to be one of the killers, I was like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
And it's not that Timothy Olyphant's a bad actor. It's just you didn't get emotionally involved with the character because he wasn't really in it. It was just like, oh, this wasted character is here. I don't care. But the other killer, they just don't. 3 was a fucking train wreck of how they pieced that together.
No, it was.
And it kind of like desaturated Billy and Stu's motive then too. And that's why I don't like 3 a whole lot, because Billy and Stu were so good that 3 just kind of like almost eliminated their motive. And I thought, because Skeet and Matt were so good that fuck 3.
Apparently, this director, who was like a bastard child of Sidney Prescott, a brother of Sidney Prescott, he orchestrated the whole thing and hired Billy and Stu and showed them the evidence that the father was sleeping with Maureen Prescott, and it sent him over the edge, and he paid them to kill and murder a bunch of people. Because it was his vision. It was his director. 3 is bad. Just leave it. 3 is bad. One. I did find other performances though. I was going through a slasher binge a couple weeks ago. I never saw The Stepfather.
Which one?
The original Stepfather, but specifically Terry O'Quinn's performance as Jerry, another character named Jerry in the 80s, Fright Night. It is another disturbing performance, and he's gone on to be very famous in the TV show Lost, Terry Quinn. But this performance, where the reason why it works so well is because it feels real. It feels real, like a lot of these really excellently well-crafted horror movies, because here's a guy who just brutally murdered his entire family, and he's basically like a hermit crab going from one shell to another. He killed one family, leaving no traces behind. He's got get-ups, wigs, mustaches to change his identity. He finds a widow. He works his way into the family, and then he takes on a stepdaughter. The stepdaughter hates his guts, but he's so innocent and kind-loving and giving. How can anything be wrong with this guy? Well, no, he's actually a raving sociopath who's murdering families left and right, and he's very good at disposing all of the evidence. And even in that movie, you can tell like how he leaves his job and he quits his job, is already beginning the steps to take on another family. Like, I'm getting ready to murder this new family to go work my way into another family. It's a really disturbing performance, and you don't really learn a whole lot about him except for his mannerisms and how when he's not achieving perfection, he starts going nuts. He starts like shaking. He starts talking to himself. He starts like convulsing a little bit when he feels like he's not this perfect man, because it all comes back to having a rough childhood where he never had a perfect family, and now he's trying to create that perfect family in the form of being a fucking murderer. But it's a performance that a lot of people don't talk about. Please don't watch the 2009 remake. Don't do that. I know they made other sequels about this movie. I don't think he became. I think he was in the second movie, Terry O'Quinn. I don't know. I never saw Stepfather 2. I don't want to see it, but look at his performance in The Stepfather. It's a very under the radar slasher film in the 80s, and I think it's really well done.
Honestly, the most recent movie that I would say had a really good performance, which is weird, is going to be Nick Cage in Willy's Wonderland.
Oh, he doesn't talk in that movie,
exactly.
does he?
Like, he doesn't talk. And it's like he does the whole movie like that. It's kind of crazy. Like, the movie's actually pretty decent for what it is.
I've been told this.
It was one of those ones, like I wanted to check it out because obviously I can't help myself. But as I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, this is actually pretty good.
Nicolas Cage, his acting career is like Russian roulette. Are you gonna live, or are you gonna get a fucking bullet to the head after seeing that performance?
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to check that out though.
I'm like trying to think, because like doing all the 31 right now, I am starting to get burnt out. So it's like,
you got 4 days left.
I know, and I think the last 4 might be. I already watched today's. I'm trying to think, like, I have everything written down because it makes it easier. So I've done so many different variables sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So like if it comes with double featured, because it actually go off a reaction of what Thea likes.
Okay.
So like we did the animated Addams Family and went to see if I could find the second one, which I was able to, so it worked out.
Good.
So stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy. Like was it? She absolutely loved Monster Squad. Got really upset when Frankenstein's monster went into limbo. I mean, like, really upset.
It's a sad moment.
Yeah.
It is really sad.
The funny thing is, I said that to Ryan Lambert, and he's like, yo, it is a sad. He didn't like. That was actually a fun experience.
Yeah, you got to meet Ryan Lambert, and you got to meet our guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, Andre Gower, man, that's great.
I mean, like, even this whole month, it feels like it's going by really fast. And it's packed. It's packed because like my anniversary was Monday. I got tattooed yesterday. Been working crazy stuff just to get off for this Saturday and leave early on Sunday.
Jeff, what did you get a tattoo of?
I got the monsters, Lily and Herman, kissing right above Gomez and Morticia.
It's brilliant.
Is that your anniversary tattoo?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because Lexi got the Gomez and Morticia, and then she got it looks like rain. It says I'll chance the rain across top for this year.
Speaking of Lily and Herman, I think Fred Gwynn doesn't really get the credit he deserves for playing Herman Monster.
I was seeing that, and then his performance in Pet Sematary.
Yes.
That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Herman that I find kind of funny is, like, well, just in the Munsters overall, they were known as these outcasts and people didn't understand them and they were shunned upon. But here, the monsters were really like how do I say it? They were just more morally grounded people than anything. Mm-hmm. And even though like people shit on them and said all sorts of bad things, they just kind of were like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
to them, they're normal.
And the normal people, they were like,
look at these fucking weirdos.
Yeah, these
normal
people
are the freaks, man.
Yeah, they're weird ones here. And I know there's that speech that's been going around the internet where he's talking to Eddie about just accepting people for as different as they are, and it's sending a strong message. And I thought that was really cool, that no matter how different and unique you are, that it's like that's just what we got to do is accept others and have a heart towards it.
Actually, the funny thing is I posted that for Father's Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I'm like, it's the most fitting, because
absolutely.
Yes.
I would say even Addams Family at the time too. If you look at both those shows, for what they really were, it was more about family and being accepting than what you look like. Come on, you've got Frankenstein's monster, a vampire, and their son's a werewolf. And their niece is a normal, and the grandfather's a vampire. So it's like the most weird-looking people ever right there.
Mm-hmm.
And, dude, they accept everybody. Like, yeah, they joke about it, but it is what it is. I mean, even looking at the Addams Family at that time, they are the weirdest people ever, but, yeah, they are happy. They support each other. They support their kids in everything that they do, and that's what that is.
Yes.
Yep. The cool messages that you got in these like scary elements that people, especially today, you still hear, oh, I don't want to watch something scary. You know, why do I want to feel that way? But then you watch something like The Munsters and the Addams Family, and you see these performances and how these scary people, almost like how we meet people at conventions, and you go, oh my God, Robert Englund and Kane Hodder play these crazy, you know, psycho killers, and then here they are just like so accepting.
They're regular people. Oh yeah.
Hey, come on in. Like, I gotta ask you questions, and I'm gonna tell stories.
Oh yeah.
Cool stuff.
I think that's the best thing about conventions, just talking to them.
Like I said before, I love the Q&As the most, more now than actually meeting them, but it's still really fun. Every aspect, except waiting in line. That sucks.
Yeah.
You get a shitty end of
I'm not gonna get into it.
It'll be off record.
Yeah, I told myself I'm on a mission. Just deal with it. I didn't know it was gonna be that long, but not gonna get into it. Just gonna move on.
So, any other standout performances, your honorable mentions, or stories that you'd like to tell about horror performances?
We could talk all day about it, but I think I love that we have such creative and different lists. Like Jeff said, this is our personalities.
Me too.
Yeah.
I felt like it was totally appropriate, and I'm glad they were different. I'm glad we all had different aspects of it. And the honorable mentions, I felt like we all said were spot on.
You know what? Honorable mention we have not brought up, haven't even talked about? Felissa Rose in Sleepaway Camp.
I just watched that a couple days ago, too.
Talking about performance right there. Dude, that girl didn't talk for 23 minutes.
Was it 23 minutes?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, before she finally said good night or like goodbye or something. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's funny because, Jeff, you have a picture of Christina Ricci there, and she's another performance that has lived on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought everybody in those Addams Family movies, too, were really good.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually like a really big cast, too. I'm like, you got Angelica Houston, Christina Ricci, you've got Christopher
Julia.
Lloyd. Yeah.
You got Christopher Lloyd.
And I mean, like, everything that it plays out in there, it just, they give it 100%. Like, you'll see movies where you can see some people giving 100%, and then some people not even giving it 10%.
Yeah. Raul Julia is another one of those actors I know he died in the early mid-90s, and people just kind of forgot about him ever since. But if you see him in some other stuff, I think he was even Dracula on Broadway, or at least on stage.
It might be. He's a really good stage actor.
Yes.
He's a really good stage actor. But he has like these larger-than-life personalities on film and on stage, and he's very interesting and captivating to watch. Even a movie like Street Fighter, where he's playing Bison.
I was thinking over John.
He is the best part of that movie because of the one line he has in that movie. Do you want to know the reason why I killed your entire village? It was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Oh, it's great. Raul Julia, I love you, man. You are Gomez Addams.
As of now, I can't think of anything else to say that's off the top of my head that was like star-studded or should get some recognition. Because the names I dropped are pretty much names that have resonated with me for years, where I said, man, nobody talks about this guy or puts them in more movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Tom Matthews, like I said, was in Friday the 13th Part 6. He was a really good hero. And the only other famous thing I can think of that he was in was Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2. And he wasn't anything like Tommy Jarvis was in those movies. No. Not that he wasn't bad, but he was just this kind of like goofy, campy sort of character.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yep. I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, me too.
For even, like I said, I had limited time to really think about it and dive too deep into it. I stand by my top 5.
Yeah,
See, nothing with these lists are ever permanent anyway, but as of now for 2021, these are some solid performances that we gave off that I would say people should go back and go, you know what? I agree. Or just say, yeah, I see what they're talking about. They may not be your favorites, but it's something to at least give recognition to and go, okay, I respect that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing more horror movies for 2022. And even like the ones we have left over for 2021, I'm looking forward to seeing Guillermo del Toro's produced film Antlers coming out this week soon. I'm looking forward to the new Scream in 2022. Halloween Ends. I'm just looking forward to a lot more movies now. So this is really cool and invigorating.
Really? You're not looking forward to Ghostbusters? You're going to just say fuck that one?
Ghostbusters.
No, that's
I know.
November.
That's saying the end of this year.
2021.
I was thinking more of just like horror-centric movies because Ghostbusters has a lot of amalgamations, a lot of comedy.
Listen, a ghost is a fucking ghost. It makes it horror, makes it comedy. It's still a fucking ghost.
Man, that Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was this big. It was cute in that trailer. But they did bring the dogs back.
Well, did you see the whole Temple of Gozer?
Yes.
That was the one thing that caught me off guard, and I'm like, no, we're talking about Ghostbusters.
We're talking about Ghostbusters.
So, like, I wasn't going to watch anything until the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone kept talking about the trailer, and someone couldn't figure out what the thing underground was. And I'm instantly figured it out really quick. I'm like, yo, that's the Temple of Gozer. I go, if anyone has ever played the game at all,
Hell
you'll
yeah.
start noticing the
Mm-hmm.
the matchup. I'm like, so they actually took the storyline for, I'm guessing, part of that game and put it in the movie, which actually made me more excited.
I know,
Yeah.
because that game, if there was ever a third movie
That was a damn good
that we
game.
never got, that game comes pretty damn close to it.
I own 2 copies of it, all right? I bought it when it originally came out.
2.
Yeah, and it was on the PS3, and then they remastered it for Halloween, I think, like 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I picked it up then, too, because I'm like, well, yes.
If like you ever wanted to be a Ghostbuster, that game is
'Cause-
pretty damn close to it.
Just interacting with the original 4, and you're the trainee.
new guy.
Yeah.
That was what made it better, because you weren't playing as Venkman or Egon, Ray, or Winston. You were with them, which made it cool.
And then bringing elements from the original movie and then kind of making it new. I wish they would have touched a little bit more with bringing in, like, Vigo's character. Like, yeah, the painting's there in the...
And it talks to you.
With the game or
Yeah,
with the
and
game?
yeah, you can talk to it in the fire station.
It's Vigo.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, I instantly knew what it was. I got excited. I'm like, cool. So they are gonna try to keep it with the original ideas. And then when I saw the mini Stay Puffs, I started dying. I'm like, yo, no way.
Yeah. Oh, he's so cute.
Then watching them make themselves into s'mores was what got me. I'm like, I'm sold. Let's just do this.
It looks like Jason Reitman is gonna do right by his dad. Oh yeah,
It actually looks like a sequel to
Yeah.
Ghostbusters,
it does.
not like the other one.
Let's not. I think we can probably just end it on that.
Yes, that's the way to end it.
End it on a positive note. Ghostbusters Afterlife in a couple weeks.
So, with that being said, that is our episode of our top 5 horror performances, at least of 2021. I mean, who knows if things change, but I mean, these have pretty much been with us for years, so
Yeah.
unless a new horror movie or something comes out, or we just stew on it and just be like, hey, you know what? Yeah!
Yeah.
But we threw in honorable mentions here and there, too, for people
think
to go
we
check
did.
out.
That's
Yeah,
what we did.
I mean, because there's way too much to talk about that are top 5, but to go into depth the way we are and to try to make this just a quicker show, I think we did it right. So, with that being said, we shall sign off. This is Colin Peters.
John Rochetter.
And Jeff Manfred.
Thank you all once again for listening. Stay safe. Stay crazy.
And happy Halloween. Have some fun out there, motherfuckers.
Happy Halloween, bitches!
Please, somebody help me.
Oh, yeah.